Welcome back to Lead at Every Level. I'm Robin. This is session 1B. Last time we talked, we said there are purposeful ways that you and I can lead from any role and any level to draw out the best in others all around us and help us all move forward toward higher outcomes and worthy destinations. And we said if we think of leadership as a toolbox, there are 3 useful drawers in that box. We opened the first drawer, navigating and guiding. This is leading from out in front, heading toward a place we're asking others to go, inviting them to join us in that journey, and along the way, enabling them, inspiring them, so they can join us. Then we can all reach this higher outcome together and enjoy the view together. Next, we opened side-by-side support. Worthy things are often challenging. So here, we're coming alongside someone and offering support that can only be given alongside. Today, we're opening interpersonal respect. This is tools for elevating mutual respect every day when we work with one another, one-on-one, within our teams, across our teams, and throughout our organizations by the way we work together. And as we'll see later today, when we elevate positive working relationships around us this way, outcomes around us tend to elevate too. So these interpersonal respect tools are very valuable to have in our leadership toolbox. Let's take a look. Every action here invests respect into our professional relationships. This is done through emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize our own emotions and those of others in the heat of challenging situations, plus relational empathy, the ability to and willingness to see, share, and value the emotions of others. In other words, seeing them as equally valuable people with needs, goals, and fears, just like us. If you think of the universe, there's the sun in the middle and planets going around it. We're talking about not viewing ourselves as the center and everyone else as something orbiting us, but to see ourselves equally as maybe planets. We're all the same. Emotional intelligence and relational empathy can help us do the first and second leader actions more effectively. Some even claim they are the biggest drivers of leadership. That's open for debate, but they definitely are enhancers. Here, we purposefully work with other people in a way that is most mutually respectful, even if it isn't always the easiest way, because we want to show that the work matters to us, and so do the people doing the work. Besides, it's how we want people to work with us. Examples may include giving truth by meaning what we say. Truth builds credibility, and credibility builds trust. Here's the building we looked at before. Now notice the table. That platform represents trust. Imagine working or even living in environments where if anyone said something like, "I'll take care of that," "I'm committed to this," or "This is what we'll do," everyone could count on that. You and I can lead in this by doing our part. Impartiality. Treating everyone with a fair and open approach. Accepting anyone who respects others and seeks to do what's right in their position. Everyone who chooses to do their part should have equal access to support, opportunity, and reward. Generally, we're talking about fairness. Example, giving everyone on a team a regular one-on-one time so we can keep up with their work, show interest in them, give helpful advice and support, that sort of thing. Making sure that everyone doing similar work is included, evaluated, and rewarded according to the same standards. Giving everyone opportunities for growth. Giving equal benefit of doubt in conflicts. These are all ways of granting impartiality. We're always going to have people around us who like some of the same stuff we do and things like that, and if we're not disciplined about it, we can end up giving them more attention than others. But a leader has to rise above that. She or he is serving the whole group by leading it, and the goal is to draw out the best of everyone in it. When an issue comes up, what a leader does in these situations is always speak to the issue, not about the person. Let's say, for whatever reason, something went wrong with a deliverable. It's late, it's missing something, or whatever. In those situations, sometimes members of a group can end up placing blame on one another and beginning to make it more about that than the issue itself.
A burglar!
A burglar?
Burglar! It's your fault!
Wait, why is it my fault?
Because you didn't get the security system like I asked you to.
Well, I got a security dog.
That's supposed to make me feel secure?
Well, I wouldn't need a security dog, and I wouldn't need a security system if you wouldn't leave all the windows and doors open all the time, so just anybody who wants to could just come right in whenever they feel like it.
Well, if you'd bought us a house in a safe neighborhood instead of this, it wouldn't matter if I left the doors and the windows open to the beautiful nature to hear all the beautiful sounds.
Well, I found a house in a safe neighborhood and we went and looked at it. But you didn't like that house. You said, oh, it doesn't have this feature, and doesn't have that feature, and doesn't have that feature. So we came and found this house because it has all those features.
Yes, but I want all the features in this house, but I want it in a safe neighborhood.
If you would have... Is that case? Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah. As I was saying... I've seen this happen, especially in reviews. I found this happens occasionally. In fact, there's a term called getting thrown under a bus. Sometimes it can feel like there's an invisible bus that snuck into a meeting room because even though we can't see it, we can see people getting tossed under it. Well, that's not helping anything. In fact, it can make things worse and less likely that the team will rally together to move forward. Now, if we've earned a good relationship with the persons involved, we may be able to separately try to understand more, and maybe there is a conflict to address, or maybe someone is having some outside stress that impacted their work, or maybe there even is a performance issue. But in the group setting, the need is to steer conversation from personalizing or blame toward the work item and a team solution that can move us forward from where we are right now. As leaders, we can foster environments that make it less likely that those invisible buses will creep in. We can not accept placing blame, call it out where we hear it. We can not do it ourselves. Of course, that's always a good start. And overall, we can facilitate discussions with a we're in this together approach. That tends to help. We want people to respect us and our authority, but we don't want them to be so terrified to report setbacks, maybe based on how we might have reacted in the past, that they feel the need to throw someone else under a bus. If we get what we want, good work, good ownership, bold but smart risk-taking, we know that everything isn't going to be perfect all the time. We can build an atmosphere that accepts that and says we're a team, we solution issues when they come up and move on together. Growing an awareness of basic human needs and meeting some of those in professional ways. The rest of this list could be ways. For example, giving attention, actively noticing someone and taking interest in them. That might involve letting a speaker finish, or leaning slightly towards someone when they're speaking, listening actively. That's where we repeat back what they said to ensure that we understood it. That's not only good for giving attention, but it's good for making sure that we really do understand. I've actually caught myself when I repeat it back, if I understood you correctly, this is what I heard you say, and then they would say, oh no, that's not what I'm saying at all. It's really saved a lot of time in addition to giving attention. How about this? If you're leading brainstorming and all initial ideas are supposed to be okay, making that so by writing them all on the board. Even the what ideas, right? There are some of those sometimes. That's okay. Ours might be those ideas. Write it down and you might even say thank you. That gives attention. And what I found it does is it brings out more ideas. You know, in every group, there's always maybe 10% of that group that are really outgoing with ideas. They're never short on thoughts. When you say, hey, does anyone have any thoughts or ideas about this? Then there's a middle group that'll do it maybe half the time, and then there are some who rarely speak up. Here's the thing though, the ones who speak out the most, they don't have the only ideas, they're just more comfortable sharing. Others can have really great ideas, but they're more hesitant. Pretty much what I try to do is convey an atmosphere that shows I want and value everyone's opinion. Put the topic out there, ask for ideas, and say something to the effect that we may not be able to do everything, but we're smarter together than anyone is alone. Get things going that way. If it's slow, then I first make sure the topic is clear. Then I go around and ask everyone by name if they have any thoughts or ideas, just to make sure I'm getting those less outspoken peers. And sometimes I have fun with this. See someone scratching their nose or something and say, oh, you have an idea. What is it? Usually they do have an idea. Your peers may think you're weird at first, but over time, as they start to trust you, see that you really do take their ideas into consideration and they're part of the plan, they start enjoying it, the creative juices start going, and you do end up with better ideas than if you just tried to come up with them on your own. Or even if you just listen to the ones who tend to be the first to speak out. How about this one? Joining into celebrations and concerns as if they were our own. For example, let's say something really great happened to somebody and they mention it. We can take a second and say, wow, that's really great. I'm glad that happened to you. However it works for us, but we can take a moment to acknowledge that this is a good thing. I mean, the reason they said it is because they're hoping someone will say that. We can be that someone. Or if someone's having a bad day, let's say they had 4 flat tires on the way into work, we can take a moment and say, wow, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Or if someone's coming to us because they're really frustrated, they don't know how to do something and it's not working out right, before we start in with our ideas, we can take a second to say, I'm really sorry you're going through that. It sounds like a weird thing to do, but oftentimes that's what people want first. Some acknowledgement that what they're feeling is valid. This is a great way to give attention, and it's a good starting point to a valuable connective conversation. With all these attention items, and there are many more ways we could do it, we're generally talking about treating each person we interact with as though they are the most important person in the world to us right then, because they are. I once had a mentor tell me that because life is very busy, we tend to get in a pattern of walking really fast and with our eyes down. This person recommended walk slower and bring your eyes up and allow others to make eye contact with you as you cross a room so that they feel safe to engage you. That's another way of giving attention. Here's a pitch for a later video. In the next session, I'll share a cool tip shared with me about setting up one-on-ones in a way that really helps to give support and show interest. So stay tuned for that. Giving appreciation, expressing thanks to recognize accomplishment or effort. For big things and for little things that can be taken for granted because they just start being expected. With appreciation, we're talking about being a thankful person, noticing and giving thanks anytime someone goes out of their way in any way for us, so that we remember they're making a special effort and we don't just start expecting it. For example, what if someone proofread something for us, or opened a door for us, or we chat a question for someone while we're in a meeting and they give us an answer? Or what if someone is just always reliable with their work? Those are great things to show appreciation for. Giving encouragement, especially when things get difficult or someone gets weary. Think about the word encouragement. Right in the middle of that word is the word courage. Encouragement is literally instilling courage to keep someone persevering toward a goal. Everyone needs encouragement sometimes, because here's the secret. From every student in grade school to every top-level leader in any industry we could imagine, everyone feels they aren't measuring up in some way and gets discouraged. Because you and I spend side-by-side time with the people in our immediate circles, we get to know them. And we can put real power into them when we see them starting to do something that's difficult for them and we know that they feel it is. Taking a second to say something like, I know this is tough, but you can do it. Or, I believe in you. It's powerful. It gives them wings in that moment to know that someone believes in them. So that's a way of giving encouragement. We can do this in group settings too. Say we're going through a change, we can be honest about it and say, this is going to be a challenge. There's a good reason we're doing this to stay on course with our mission, and I know we can do it because I believe in you and I believe in us. Words like that are powerful if your group knows you mean it. Encouragement can also be about helping someone get back up after a mistake. If we really are trying new things, pushing for better, we're going to make mistakes. how we lead in these moments can make a difference between whether a person keeps moving forward or not. The book Emotional Intelligence 2.0 speaks about this. It recommends that when we're giving feedback to someone who just made a mistake, making that person feel smart and confident can help them get back up and keep going. It's kind of like a parent encouraging a child who is trying to walk or ride a bicycle. You got this, keep going, I know you can do this. Instead of, oh, you fell down, I can't believe it, you'll never get this. Well, they probably won't in that second case. I once had a mentor call this giving someone a high reputation to live up to, speaking to and about someone as though they are already living out potential that we see in them. I don't mean in terms of whether they need coaching and advice and things like that, but generally in how we speak to them and about them, the way that we coach them and the way that we advise them, assuming the best of them, assuming they're smart. With a little bit of help on our end, they're going to do this and excel. Years ago, I attended an executive review. This was maybe the second one of a series, and what was happening is everyone was going in and presenting areas that were green and yellow and red. And after the end of that session, the VP at the time, long since retired, said, okay, next time we're not going to waste all this time talking about the good stuff. I just want to see the bad stuff because that's what we have to fix. So don't waste our time talking about anything green. I want to only look at where you're not making the mark and fix that. Well, over the period of months, the red parts didn't get better. So they got redder, and that's because motivation was gone. I'm not saying we only talk about the good things. That wouldn't be right because we do have things we need to work on. But a balanced approach where we give people a chance to share what they feel like they've done well and give appreciation for that helps them to have courage to talk about the harder things. Just something I saw and put in my mind for later to always remember, let people share what they did well and say, thank you for doing that. Really good job there. That sets a certain frame of mind for a positive discussion about things we need to do better. Okay, kids, tell me about your day today. And remember, don't tell me any of the good stuff. Just tell me the bad stuff so I can tell you what you did wrong and fix it. How come the kids don't talk to me?
I don't know.
A powerful companion to encouragement is affirmation. I could have maybe mentioned this under appreciation, but hey. This is noticing things and mentioning it to affirm it. It's been said that nothing raises a person's desire and confidence to perform at a high level like a habit of routinely giving three things: affirmation of good things, encouragement in tough moments, and appreciation and recognition of effort or achievement. Harvard Business Review once performed a study of 6 strategic business leadership teams and found that giving these three things raised effectiveness, financials, and feedback. You can find the study at Harvard Business Review and in the book How to Be Exceptional by John Zinger. But what about constructive criticism? I mean, it can't all be roses, right? We do have to course correct. Yes, we do. We will look at that as a stage of achieving and even spend a follow-up session on that specifically. The key seems to be balance. The study I just mentioned found that the most effective ratio of positivity, affirming and encouraging, to negative critique is 6-to-1 approximately. When criticism becomes habitual, it results in mediocre or compliance performance. But when it is sparing and purposeful amid a habit of affirming, it grabs attention and gets action. That makes sense, kind of like how good music and stories have dynamics. Now, this doesn't mean that anytime you and I need to correct someone, we first need to give them 6 affirmations. I think it's challenging us to have a balance toward optimism and positivity. If you and I, for whatever reason, have learned to lean toward criticism, we may be better served to lean toward affirmation, encouragement, and appreciation as kind of our primary tool. And as a secondary tool, when we do need to make a correction, work hard to state that in a positive and encouraging way. And as a third tool, use direct negative criticism sparingly. Make it really count. Harvard finds this balance makes teams stronger. Chances are, one of those 3 things I mentioned, affirming, positive correction, or willingness to do negative correction when it is needed, is a weak area for each of us. In a moment, I will talk about a strategy you and I can use to manage our weaknesses so that we can better do all of what we have been called to do as leaders. For now, just mentioning that affirmation is important, and it goes along with encouragement. Giving credit. Making sure whoever does good work gets acknowledgement for it. This one's very powerful too. If someone has a piece in some work that you and I did, it means a lot to them if we mention it. They also notice it if we don't, right? I mean, you and I are that way. If someone asks us to be a part of something and we join in and say we build a component of some output, we really feel good if they mention that when the output comes out, and we do tend to notice if they don't. Most everyone is here to contribute, so giving credit where it's due matters. Giving acceptance, receiving someone willingly and unconditionally. We could do this in a lot of ways. For example, a leader is someone who recognizes that she or he doesn't have all the best ideas. Embracing other perspectives and ideas tends to bring better solutions. It also enhances buy-in of team members who felt they contributed in some meaningful way to the plan. So a great way you and I can lead is by allowing ourselves to be secure enough in ourselves to involve others in how the work gets done, as well as in getting it done. It's not failure if you and I don't have all the answers. No one could, but together we'll have more. I don't mean every team member gets to decide everything about everything. At my level, I don't set HPE's vision or the strategies to get there. I can work with my team and allow them to help shape how we can best do our part. Communicating with understanding. This is sharing information with clarity, reasonable timeliness, transparency, and with an understanding of the needs of those we want to connect with. Every person we work with, upward and outward, has goals, needs, concerns, pressures, fears, just like we do. The better we understand that in general and understand what those are, the better we can communicate in meaningful and mutually respectful ways. In a later session, we will cover some good strategies for communicating and presenting to upward leaders and to individual contributors in ways that are more likely to be helpful to those audiences. Their needs are different, so stay tuned for that. How about positive negotiation, negotiating in a way that seeks mutual benefit? Years ago, I was asked to develop a service levels agreement between what at that time was the remote service center and the field service center. I was supposed to list out everyone's SLAs, and leaders of both organizations were going to sign it. Well, what happened is when we got in there, I discovered something. Without realizing it, both entities were in some ways at odds with one another. There were areas where the remote service center, if they hit their goals, it was actually going to hinder the field. And the same thing with the field. There were areas where if the field hit their goals, it was going to hinder the remote service center. There's a lot of conflict happening, and it was difficult to reach agreement between the two entities. It was a challenging situation, and what I had to do is slow the process down and get to know the leaders of both to show myself interested in their well-being, both of them. I reported into the remote service center, so field was maybe more hesitant to trust me. I had to spend time building that trust because in the end I was going to end up asking both entities to make some adjustments to their goals so that they would line up together, be running the same race. That was a major experience of arbitration. The only way I was able to do it was to really care about both entities. And when I got that mindset that I wasn't in one, that helped me in that situation. It came across and we did reach an agreement. So there's an example of that. Conflict resolution. Seeking to resolve a conflict in a mutually respectful way.
Remember these birds? They're still going at it. They really need someone to step in and help out.
Even better, how about taking the initiative when we were one of the parties involved? It's a really hard one because it requires us to put our egos aside for the sake of someone else. but that is taking the lead in interpersonal respect to show the other person they matter to us. If we really do go into those situations not thinking about what's best for me only, but what can I do that is most mutually respectful, it really helps us in those situations because I'm not the only one who has fears, concerns, pressures, needs, goals. The other person does too. All these actions point to one idea, a question really. When I'm working with other people, what is the most mutually respectful way I can approach the work? Knowing that everyone I work with is just like me. So how can I be a source of mutual benefit, moment to moment and day to day? Thinking that way builds trust, confidence, and interdependence, which are cornerstones of relationships. This third list may seem less obvious as being leadership practices, but think of it like this. Leadership is done through relationships. It absolutely involves strategies and goals. Those are achieved by people. The work is through people and for people. So this third side is building the relationships through which we will navigate and guide and give side-by-side support.
When we add respect to our navigating and guiding and our side-by-side supporting, we have an opportunity to exceed ordinary impact and achieve extraordinary impact.
If you and I are looking for a secret power for leading at any level in a way that brings out the best in others around us, it's actions like these. Now that we've completed all 3 sections,
Super short version of it. They are all challenges and opportunities to lead others the way you and I want to be led. Think about it. Don't you and I like it when we get good vision, navigation, and guidance, side-by-side help now and then, and are treated with mutual respect? Of course we do. All these actions are opportunities to give those things.
it takes work, but isn't our company, our organization, and aren't the people in it worth it? It doesn't take a title to guide someone toward worthy things, to sit down beside them now and then, and to treat them with respect.
No one can be perfect in all of this. If you and I did become perfect at every action here, we would be better leaders than whomever is considered the greatest in the history of the world at this point. That's not our pursuit. Our pursuit is excellence. To reach excellence, we can learn to do something that the most effective leaders of all time, since the dawn of time, have learned to do. Focus on our strengths and manage our weaknesses.
As you and I look at the leader actions list, some items will pop out to you and me. We have natural talents in those areas. That's how we could most benefit and most uniquely benefit others around us as leaders. That's where our natural talent is, but a talent isn't a skill. We build skill on top of talents.
If we're wise, we're going to invest heavily into building lots of skill into those talent areas. That will forge them into true strengths for us.
We also have weak areas. These are the things most likely to trip us up from time to time as leaders. They're never going to be our A game, but we can't just not do them. Integrity says we sign up for every responsibility of a calling, and leading is a very high calling. That's why I talked about filtering earlier. We can't just filter out parts of a role that we struggle with or don't find as fun or we just rather not do. We have to shore up those weaknesses to at least a solid B so they don't get in the way of our strengths so much. A B would be competent. They won't wow anyone, but they're okay, solid. So we lean on our strengths. We let these areas be competent areas for us, and then we partner up with people who have these areas as strengths. That makes a winning team. Collaboration in its best. So a good question might be, how much time and attention do I put into building up my strengths and how much into shoring up my weaknesses?
I learned the 70-30 principle. Spend 70% of our focus building up and benefiting others in our strength areas, 30% shoring up our weaknesses to improve them and keep up a level of competence. That's how I learned it, 70-30. It's not written in stone. The principle is spend most of our focus building up the areas where we can best benefit others,
but just don't forget to shore up our weak areas because we could trip over those. So, if we will invest personal rigor into identifying our potential high-strength areas and our weaknesses, then build up our strengths and lead by those, and shore up our weaknesses to competence, we can bring out our personal best, and then we can draw out the best in others in our unique way.
As a takeaway exercise at the end of today, you will receive a simple tool that will help you start doing that work.
This conversation is probably really encouraging to some. Others may be concerned about the idea of admitting any weaknesses at all. To help you process that, let me close this topic by painting a picture for you. Think of an Olympian, the best athletes in the world. There is no Olympian on earth better at every event than every other Olympian. Some are runners, others are powerlifters, and so on. An Olympic runner is not going to be a heavy weightlifter, but a runner who wants to excel at running does wisely spend at least some time in a weight room to shore up any muscle weaknesses and gain an edge. An Olympic powerlifter is not going to be the top runner, but she or he does spend some time running to shore up any cardiovascular weaknesses and get an edge. It's okay that you have strength areas and weak areas. Wisdom says acknowledge that, just shore up the weak ones. The best understand the 70-30 principle. If you want to be an elite leader, starting right now in your current job, do the takeaway exercise for today.
For someone who has never taken up the responsibility of leading, informally or formally, it looks easy. It's not. It's challenging, but we're up to the challenge. I don't live up to all these actions every day. I am growing in them. I encourage you to grow in them too, even the ones you're already pretty good at. Be excellent, so we can all be excellent to one another as leaders.
Oh, and one other thing. These leader actions, they help us bring out the extraordinary, and they are great ways to live out our company values. As we move into our final minutes together, let me show you something.
Here are HPE's values. As a company, our purpose is advancing the way people live and work by engineering experiences that unlock potential. To support this purpose, we, as informal or formal leaders, have the opportunity to unlock the potential of our organizations, teams, and peers by how we work and lead. Accelerating what's next, moving boldly, demonstrating the power of yes, we can, and of course, being a force for good, seeing ourselves as humans serving humans. And one particularly important way to do all this is through unconditional inclusiveness. No one person has all the best ideas. Our peers and team members have skills and perspectives that we don't, and vice versa. And now, notice the 4 principles at the bottom of this slide. Let's take a look at something called the HPE Elements of Leadership. This is an overview slide from HPE's Elements of Leadership. This is a leader-centric companion to the HPE values. Notice the 4 principles of leading: engage, empower, evolve, execute. Now just scan this page for a moment and notice how many words and principles have come up all throughout our session today. The leader actions we previously explored can help us tangibly live the HPE values and lead by the HPE leader element.
You ever hear a motivational speaker or leader in some session and think, wow, that is a powerful principle she or he's talking about right now, but how do I do it? The HPE values and leader elements are powerful principles. Helping to make them very tangible across all of our job roles is part of why we're offering this series. Because when we can do that, every day becomes an opportunity to do more than just the next task. It's an opportunity to do something extraordinary together. We're heading toward the wrap-up, but let me address the elephant in the room question. Why do all this? I mean, can't we just be ordinary? Sure, there is plenty of ordinary at companies everywhere, but why not extraordinary? What makes a leader extraordinary is helping others around her or him to become extraordinary.
As we wrap up, here's a 60-second preview of sessions 2 through 6. Here are some tools we will explore together.
In the coming sessions, we're going to use these and give you templates for them to do the leader actions.
also embed the actions into this sequence of achievement. This picture represents stages that you and I go through when we set about to achieve something significant. The actions of leading happen within these stages, so we will put them there.
By the end, we should have a pretty solid toolbox for leading ourselves and others towards extraordinary outcomes.